Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story. It's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. I hope somebody was there to see that. Welcome. It's Motivational Monday and you're here. Well, at least some of you are. Say hello if you're here. Or am I talking into the great abyss? Who knows? I love the new intro. Our Amber did that, by the way. Say hello to the Dream Team. They're here. We have, of course, we have our lovely Jenny behind the helm there. We also have Amber here and Lindsay, and they're all doing everything. Do you love what Amber just did? Did you see her face there? That's why we asked for it. I'm glad you, Lisa, loved it. Thank you, Lisa. Alice, thank you. Deborah's here. Corliss, yes, I know. We give pinkies up for our Amber. She just, I'll tell you what, she always hits it out of the park. Made me cry the first time I saw it because I thought it was such a pretty thing. Ellen, hello. Jocelyn, Catherine, very good to have you here. I almost feel like we should repeat it just in case people didn't see it. Maybe we should have come on late, but any case, I loved the intro. If you missed it, well, you're going to have to go back and play the replay, okay? Just do it because our Amber she knocked herself out. She really did. We wanted something that was just a little bit of a thing. Cynthia, gosh, good to see you. I'm glad to have you here. Lucy, Helen is in the house as well. Jocelyn, lovely, lovely, and our lovely Ellen as well. Anyway, if you, I have been kind of absent on Facebook. My apologies. It's been busy. So I just want to personally thank everybody for showing up and being here. It's just, yay. Isn't it fun to get together? Today is Motivational Monday, and you know, we always have a new theme, new topic, etc. I don't even have a quote of the week. Jenny, do we have a quote? I didn't see it. If we have a quote, Jenny will put it in the comments, but right now I don't have a quote. So we'll find one. So there's that. And secondarily, we have a blowout sale that you need to know about. Unbeknownst to us, we had a couple of cases of B complex that is expiring next month. Now, expirations are funny, funny things. Okay, there it is. Amy Poehler. Find a group of people who challenge and inspire you and spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life. Did I miss that, Amy? Did I miss that, Jenny? I probably missed that. Oh, well. Anyway, all of our announcements, by the way, are at savingdinner.com/announcements, including what I'm about to tell you about our B complex. Margaret, I haven't seen you in however long. It's been a minute. Anyway, this B complex is lovely. It is a methylated vitamin B, which is important because 60% of the population cannot properly methylate. That means that you need to always make sure that your B complex are methylated. And one warning is if you have a niacin sensitivity, like most people do, you'll feel a little buzzy and a little whatever, and sometimes even get bumps and stuff. It's just your capillaries opening, and as that happens, it just makes you feel really weird. They call it a niacin rush or a niacin flush, and I get it really bad, but boy, we have two cases that we're going to blow out. Okay, now hear me. If you buy one, it's $7. If you buy two, it's $6. If you buy three or more, it's $5 a bottle for as long as supplies last. We have a quote on our site. You can find it at savingdinner.com/show that tells you all about why buying something that's right there, that's right on the cusp of expiring is okay. The shelf life is 2 years beyond what the expiration is, and this is the general, consensus. But we can't just sell them, so this is why we're doing it this way. Okay, Diane, hello. So check it out. SavingDinner.com/sale, and for all of our announcements, including our coming up in 1 month, full bloom, right here at my house. Go to savingdinner.com/announcements. It's all sitting there. It's all parked for you, all linked up. You got it all. Yay. So this week let me go ahead and get our friends over on, we're going to go live also on TikTok. So we are live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. Isn't that fun? All of those. I want you to know this week's theme, because this week's theme is something that I think will, with honest introspection, might just change your life. Okay? And what we're talking about today is turning mountains into molehills, or turning molehills into mountains. I don't know, however you want to say it. But in other words, scaling it back so that we can tell, we can start wising up a little bit about what's actually going on. This stuff is important. Hey, Angie, Jeanette, nice to have you here. This stuff is important. And I kind of got this. This is from my mom. This is my mother's birthday week, by the way. And my mother passed in 2016. We had a really good relationship toward the end of her life, but I will tell you, there was times, growing up that it was a little difficult. I will explain some of that as we go, but I just want to get you, I want to get you on this and get you into this place of maybe taking a couple of looks at some stuff. Hey, Chris, good to have you here. So, you ever heard of histrionic behavior? Histrionic, just like everything just blowing up. Histrionic, overreach, hand-wringy stuff. Well, that was, that's the opposite of turning molehills into mountains. What turning molehills into mountains means. It means you're actually just turning molehills into mountains all the time. And it can be a bit much. To be histrionic is to be over the top emotionally, to grand scale cry, even emoting and yelling. And if you've ever been around somebody like that, you know how difficult it is and how eggshelly it is. Always walking on eggshells, always feeling like, holy cow, are they going to go off? Because you never know what the trigger is. You know somebody like that in your life? Is it you? And I'm just going to ask you to take a peek-see, because I believe with all of my heart that this is how we get to the place of making the changes that means something, right? That means something. Thanks, Pinky, for the pretty flowers. To be, so here's the other thing. It's a histrionic thing. If you look at psychology, they say that it's a personality disorder. But get this. This is what it's called. Personality disorder not otherwise specified. She loves stuff like that. So, pardon me for inserting the eye roll here, but don't we oftentimes have a tendency to maybe start over labeling things? We might have a moment, then suddenly we have a personality disorder. I don't know. Maybe it's a little out there. So let's just talk about all of this and unpack it a little bit, because to me, what this stuff is more on track of, I don't want to be labeled for the rest of my life because of an incident, right? Either do you. But what we want to do is we want to be very introspective and say, is this something that I do on the regular? Is this something that I kind of hand wring, get histrionic, get over the top emotional, and just bring this wrath of con to everyone in my circle? Because we don't want to be those women. Wise women don't do that. But in order to not do that, you got to recognize it first. You got to recognize it. And again, I think that when and can I have I've got this is an opinion, y'all. an opinion. I think that there are a lot of doctors out there that are a little overzealous with the diagnosis and the prescription pad. And you go in and you're saying, I just feel a little this, I feel a little that. Suddenly, boom, there's your label, and for life, and here's your prescription so that we can calm you down. And is that necessarily the thing that we need to be doing? Or do we need to start looking at things of what is it that's going on in my life? What is it that I can control? That's what this is about. So, like I said, I am not a doctor, nor do I play one on the Daily Dish. And maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but this is my opinion. And I give you this opinion because I don't want anyone in my world unnecessarily labeled and unnecessarily saying that this is the way you are, this is the prescription for life for you, and we've labeled you. You don't need that. You don't need to be labeled. You just need to be introspective. Okay. I've said that about 800 times, but it's important because oftentimes we go to these doctors, just trying to get things in order, trying to figure out what's going on. And you know what happens? We find that people oftentimes feel like, MD stands for medical deity. It doesn't. It doesn't. We know ourselves, right? Amen. Do you know yourself? Do you feel in your heart of hearts that you have a pretty good grip on yourself? And maybe there's places where you have blind spots. We all have that. That's how it works. But we're going to go to a place and get to this place of being able to look at things in a way that is a little less subjective and more introspective. I think that's super helpful. Okay, here's a quote for you though. Emotions are temporary states of mind. Temporary states of mind. Don't let them permanently destroy you. Do you know if you get angry about something, you don't stay angry for the rest of your life, do you? Of course not. You know what you do? You explode maybe or whatever, and it goes. If you're happy, it's the same thing. You get happy, 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 and then happy goes. Emotions are like that. They're like waves. They come and they go. And we're going to be talking about scaling this mountain and molehill stuff so that we can have a good grip on what it is that we're doing and how it is we're showing up for our own lives. We got one life to live. Remember that? One. So how are you going to show up with it? What are you going to do with it? All right. So this quote is saying that unfortunately, we pile on and we declare something about ourselves that maybe isn't necessarily true. It's just that we're going through an emotional state at that time and we get labeled for it. We displace our icky stuff. Anybody have any icky stuff in their life? I know I do. There's a lot of stuff that we don't want to look at. There's past trauma, right? Sometimes it's a diversion tactic that we use to just say, oh, this is really hard and difficult and icky over here. So I'm going to do all these other things over here so I don't have to go there. And when we say, I don't want to go there, it's just simply because sometimes we don't even have a label for it. We don't even have a name for it. We just know it's tender, it's scary, and we don't want to go there. But oftentimes our overreacting is connected to that old woundedness, that old trauma, and it's an open wound that hasn't properly mended, and properly healed. I mean, we're human. It happens. My mother, and like I said, her birthday is the 25th, so, in a few days. And she would have been 89 had she lived. But growing up with her and also later on into life, the ultimate hand wringer. If every little thing didn't go absolutely according to plan, and good grief, this is life. How often does that happen, right? If it didn't all go exactly according to plan, oh my gosh. And she would just exclaim and complain and just catastrophize, and she'd be doing, I mean, she literally would do this, like, and her eyes would get big over something like, you know, Caroline missed the bus or something like that. It was just always crazy town. It was. But she had no coping skills. Everything had to go just so. Molehills into mountains every day, every single day. She was never motivated to stop the histrionics until later on when my, later on when my, when she started to live with me and I was taking care of her toward the ends of her life, and I would just say, Mom, bring it down a notch. You're just spending every bit of emotional capital on nothing, every bit of it. So what we need to do is we need to be motivated to stop this stuff. We need to see it in ourselves. It was the first time she saw it in herself. And this is when I introduced my mother to meditation, by the way, which is one of the biggest things that you can do in order to self-calm. Because one of the skills that we all need is the skill to be able to self-soothe. Even babies do that. That's why I have little binkies and pacifiers. They can do that. We can self-soothe too. We don't need to resort to that knee-jerk reaction of just going completely bonkers. And I've got 4 things for you that I think are important to write down that psychologists tell us that you can alleviate a little bit of the histrionics. You ready for that one? The first one is, I call this stop, drop, and roll because I remember being taught this. Do you remember being taught this in Girl Scouts? Stop, drop, and roll is you are on fire. Don't run. It'll just, stoke the fire. Instead, stop what you're doing, drop, and roll. So if you think about it for a minute, here you are on the precipice of going crazy. Here you are on the precipice of taking something and just going with it. If you recognize it, you can stop it. You can say that's enough. And I will say this, it's kind of bizarre, but hang in there with me. We start at the very base of our brain. We start in the most primitive part of our brain, and we move forward to the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the moneymaker. I always say that. The prefrontal cortex is the place where we can think abstractly. We can conceptualize. Complex things can be sorted. But if we are just knee-jerking it from the most primitive place, I always say prisons also are always filled with people who haven't learned to process, because they just say, oh, you're horrible, dead. And, oh, there you go, prison for the rest of your life. Oh, you're horrible, but you know what? I'm just going to walk away. I don't want to, I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to deal with you. And you process and you think about it and you do whatever you want to do. In order to process it. We all process a little bit different. That is how we get to the place of being able to be on top of our emotions instead of having our emotions run us down the highway. Instead of being in the place of having to constantly seek forgiveness for our blah, 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 and just losing our grip. So that's a big deal. When we start to get that control back, and when we start to realize we don't have to say something right away, we don't have to walk away and pout and act like a 4-year-old. There's so many things that we don't have to do. We just need to look at it and say, okay, let's just analyze this, because we're big girls, right? We're wise women, and it gives us an opportunity to become the wise women that we need to be. This is what this does. And I believe that when we unplug from the emotion, and we instead have put a critical eye on that and just analyze what the heck's going on here. We can start seeing things a little bit differently and start seeing it from the place of I'm hurt, or it's not going right, or this, that, or the other thing. But look into the deeper why of what the heck is going on. Number 2, balance is a myth. You'd ever think you'd hear that from me? It's true, though. We strive for it, but let's face it, we're pretty much always out of whack. Sometimes your attention needs to necessarily be all in on one thing. And other times your attention needs to be all the way over here. This idea of just, I've got this emotional balance going on at all times. Not really. We feel up, we feel down, we feel kind of crazy, we feel whatever, and allow for that. Allow for that. That's how we are. Chasing this balance thing, it's a fool's errand. It's never going to be achieved, but we can still process separately from all of that. Number 3 is to create a vision for all of your life. All of your life, not just one thing. I call it the carousel of crazy. The carousel of crazy is when we're focused just on the one thing and it's all we can see. For women, for a lot of women, and we started, my book, The Carousel of Crazy, is all about women and weight loss and this whole, how this predatory weight loss industry just gets on board and takes you heart, mind, body, and soul, and your wallet, by the way, and with stuff that doesn't work because they try to divorce you from your body. It's true. And we can't do that. We have to look at the whole of our lives. We're whole women, right? We're not just bodies. Heart, mind, body, and soul. All of it needs to be in alignment. So if we spend all that time and all that energy just focused on that one thing, what happens to the rest of our lives? Everything gets out of whack and kind of crazy. So when you're just completely focused on one thing, start asking yourself the question, what about the rest of my life? Is it in balance? Is this what I want? And when I'm talking, even though I just said balance is a myth, I'm talking about being always in balance, not emotionally, not about the balance of things in your life. Okay, just to clarify that. I know that sounds kind of crazy. Number 4 is establish your rituals. I am big on rituals, as you well know. Maybe it's a morning routine, Fly Lady calls it that, for the routine for make your bed, do the this, do the that. But I'm talking about you as a woman, heart, mind, body, and soul, and thinking about, have I meditated? Have I journaled? Journaling is just another way to process and work through emotions. Meditation is a way to get centered and to, listen to yourself, to know yourself. It's a very quiet, wonderful thing to do. And then, when you have the opportunity maybe to work through Take Back Your Life journal or whatever, and you taking those 12-week goals and translating them into I am goals, just 4 sentences, for the next 12 weeks, you start to identify as that woman that you want to become. This is a big deal. And it's how we change the entire trajectory of our lives. It's how we also find ourselves in the place of maturing in a way that's necessary so that we're not freaking out and flipping out at every little tiny bump in the road. Bumps in the road happen. And I will tell you right now, you'll never, ever be without a bump, an obstacle, a detour in your life. You just won't. But we can make peace with that and we can start calming ourselves down. We have the ability to self-soothe. I don't want you to ever get labeled as something by some doctor with a prescription pad. I mean, if it is what it is, then yes, by all means. But I think, again, that it's just maybe a little too frequent. And maybe if we just take a look at what it is that is in control and under our umbrella of ability, well, that's something that we can do something about, isn't it? This is how we live life in full bloom. What do you think of that? We're going to be talking about this all this week and breaking this whole thing down so we can really get into the weeds of taking this all the way. If you didn't see the beginning of the show with the lovely intro, definitely go back and watch it because our new intros, we're so proud of it. You're going to see the outro in just a minute. In the meantime, peace be with you. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.